life.
Hello. Welcome to Jarviskjir. Here be heroes. Today is just the boys. It's just the boys. Squad up, lad up. One of us is
We're
choking.
gonna die.
Yeah, you don't have your big, strong Viking paladin to save you.
Yep.
Hey, how's everyone?
It's okay. We have Baruit.
Who has more armor than he thought he did.
Yeah, remembered how to use a shield.
Well, I like to imagine this entire time you had the shield, but you were just choosing not to use it.
Yeah, just
So basically,
dueling with
to
my
catch the
sword.
audience up, Will had never been applying his shield to his character sheet. Playing sword and board cleric.
So he's
Without-
just been
without-
playing with a
without the
huge
board.
handicap.
Yeah.
yes.
Like,
And just-
that hand to do nothing.
And that is how we do this. Well,
He was playing
clearly the
hard
best
mode.
player needs a handicap.
It's just like golf.
That is true. You don't want to eclipse the rest of the party.
Exactly. I just needed to really demonstrate.
Voluntary -2 to AC.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Who needs it?
Who
But
needs it?
I've
Who even
decided
needs
that-
armor class, right?
Well, I mean, while Aelinor is gone, I figure I'll
Weapons
take
of
it back. Obviously,
Just to make it fair.
just to make it fair,
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll see how it goes when she's back, depending on how things go.
So,
This is the session Baruit dies.
There's a good chance. Who knows?
So, last week you completed your quest in Thundral to put a banshee to rest in the library. You defeated the King of Spears. You made sure that she was buried correctly, and the banshee disappeared. You made your way back, and when you made back to Slate Cove and Chasm Guard, the home of the Grey Fists, you were pretty much immediately slapped with a new contract, but you have time to prepare. The new contract is to escort a tiefling cleric of the Exalted Guide all the way back to the tiefling city of Bastillion from a small northern town called Lendir. And pretty much, party was preparing for it while asking the one tiefling they know everything they can, being casually racist, as humans are.
Well, I mean, all tieflings know each other, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, Varric doesn't know they're a race yet. He just saw a person with cool horns and a tail and thought it was cool.
Yeah, he's very forward thinking. So,
Derek doesn't see race.
basically, you are in Slate Cove. You are trying to set up before you go. You're buying your supplies. You're making sure your equipment's in good condition because you have just come back into the town after walking all the way from the Elven Lands, which honestly is something the three of you enjoy doing. You enjoy the traveling part of your questing, even though Baruch doesn't get to read as much as he'd like.
I read while I walk.
You
It's
also
fine.
read while the humans need
We have
sleep.
to angle
so...
him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
as he's walking. like-
Occasionally, I'll walk into the woods, and they'll just need to grab me by the neck and drag me back onto the path. It's fine.
Perfectly fine. So basically, you're prepping and setting up because you know not only do you have to go to get this person for the contract, you're also then going to have to travel across the ice sheets to the city of Bastillion. The city of Bastillion that is essentially all the way on its own, without contact to anywhere else, because it's in the middle of a frozen lake that has monsters in the lake. Which, of course, all of you are very excited to go to. So,
yeah.
a couple of things actually are happening while you're setting up, because you're probably going to spend, I mean, knowing you guys, probably the first hour, maybe more, just setting up the trip. Aelinor is not actually going to be traveling with you. The town you're going to is actually where her orphanage is, that she is a patron of, and she is going to be traveling separately with, a caravan of supplies to there.
That makes sense. Keep
She's-
suspicions down, given that she asked us to burn it down.
No. No.
Oh, you sure?
No.
I think that's what she said. I think that's what she said. Hold on.
But she is basically...
Note.
She's setting off on her own, so it is just the boys. On top of that, you were told, while you're setting up, Kindle will go to probably Barut, because Barut is leader of the party, no matter what Tobias says.
It's because I'm not an elf.
Because you're not an elf. And
Probably,
she will basically tell you that when you're in Bastillion, to encourage you to take some contracts there. There is actually a Greyfist office in Bastillion. She gives you the addresses to it. Of course, the address is very confusing because it's kind of a 3-dimensional diagram. Because have you been to Bastillion, Barut, or have you just...
No, this is one of the ones that is like the most exciting for me, that I've learned the language of their people ahead of time so that I could eventually go there. That was the next stop on my journey.
So it is just confusing. Because, like, usually addresses will be like, find a landmark and then go from there. This has, like, you shall travel to the Spire of Song. And on the, it's very confusing and very archaic, and it's almost poetic. Kindley may have written it.
Right. And Brewitt will be taking, obviously, very detailed notes of every single aspect of it and trying to apply, like, oh, I wonder if that's a cultural thing for, like, you know, and everything. Literally everything will have notes on it for things that I want to ask when I get there.
So she basically basically says, because it's going to take so long to get there, and is such effort to get there, while you're there, do some work. Which honestly, because there is an office there, and she says, sometimes someone's there, not always. So, you know, if you can work, do work, honestly.
Right.
As well as that, while you were in the tavern setting up, just to do all the things that I meant to say last week, but I forgot. And also, they're all at will, so it doesn't matter anyway, because he wasn't here last week. While you're in the tavern, because you're always at your local tavern, Corpse Flower will tell Burry, it'll be like, I know that you're in the market for some new armor. I actually, you know, the man who made my armor is in Bastillion. He's on that motorbike right now. He's going to come and see you.
Oh,
he gives you a note to see a blacksmith by the name of Siegeborn in the Crying Tower.
cool. Thank you.
It's a tiefling city, Tesh.
Yep.
And Brewitt types it up on his notebook. You know.
We're not playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah, no. No. He writes it down very, very. And he's a very like. Now the Crying Tower. Why is it called that?
Do you ask him that?
Yes.
Well, he chuckles, saying, "It is actually the most northern tower in the city. It is shaped in such a way that the north winds that blow past, they make this horrible, baleful sound of a young woman crying. All times.
Delightful.
It is beautiful."
Very interesting. Thank you. And I will definitely speak with Siegeborn upon our arrival.
He's a brilliant smith who knows how to do the details. And I mean, Corpse Flower's armor is very high quality. It's just old. You can actually see that like it was painted red, but it's so old the black metal underneath is like faded and showing. But it's if he made that armor, he can make what like you have in the back of your mind, probably.
Yeah. Cool. I'm looking forward to that. All right.
Now you can do what you guys want. What do you want to do while you're setting up? To go.
Remember to grab winter gear. Because we all grabbed
winter gear was 10 gold.
I will
needs to buy, a big old Ned Stark jacket.
Yeah.
That's what winter gear is, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. I have like my white traveling cloak that I'd be wearing over top of it anyways, whatever it ends up being. So I will look the same, just bulkier.
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I will buy winter gear now.
Actually, yeah, I would make note of making sure it was like white as well, because there's no way I'm stealthing with like the black outfit I got in snow and
that
stuff.
would cost you extra.
How much?
I will
it would
take
cost
extra.
an extra 5 gold because that would involve dyeing the letters.
Yep, I will do that.
This is not a town that easily does that, so it would be at a premium.
And I will have bought that as well, more just so that when I'm sitting, I'm not the first person to get attacked while we're sitting down.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll get some camouflage.
Yeah.
I will pay extra.
Cool. Anything else?
How many rations do I have?
Yeah, that's the question. Is
I was going to say you should probably buy some rations. I mean, you have a ranger.
Yeah.
But what if you are relieved of your ranger? Who knows, right?
I was about to say.
I think you mean what if the ranger is relieved of the party?
Yeah.
How much are rations? I might
Rations
just buy
are
an
5 silver each. And in this city, you either get, a compressed sort of bar of berries and oats, or, some smoked and cured fish. Depending on, it'd be a mixture, because it has to be like a fairly rounded meal.
So they're 5 silver each, so that would then be... Because it's 10 silver per gold, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then I am going to buy 5
1 gold for 2!
Yes.
Get your rations!
Yeah, so
I'll
5
buy
gold
10 rations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea, because you never know when your ranger will cease
And
to
I'm
be.
very specifically buying smoked fish. Because that sounds delicious.
I could probably do the same.
Well, I mean, they also did tell us that there were monsters under the ice sheets, right? So we'll do tons of fishing while we're out there, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but it's always good to have more just in case. And just
You
in
need a
case
drill to do ice
Have you
fishing.
Just in case you need bait.
Have you ever been ice fishing before?
No.
It's a lot like normal fishing. It's terrible.
Oh. And it'll take a detailed note of terrible. Got it. Now, why?
You'll see when we get there. Don't worry about it.
Fair enough. I mean, the armor was one of the things that I was gonna ask about, so that's good. I'm looking at my notes for things that I wanted to do before.
You did mention at least one thing before the show
Yes.
that you wanted to do.
Yes.
But does he remember?
No.
Do you remember, Tesh?
Because it wasn't just me. I remember this now. It wasn't just me.
Oh,
Vieric
right,
think-
yeah. Now I remember. Okay, so if Eleanor's now going off, like setting up her
Yeah,
thing.
she's going off and going.
Okay, Brute,
Yes.
I have a thing, and I didn't know if I should do the thing around Eleanor because the whole exorcism thing, and I'm going to pull out the book from the library.
This
And
is
this time I'm
the
go-
Aelades book, the
Yeah,
Yeah.
one that Barut is very enamored with.
Yeah.
yeah. Except
Yes,
I'm
the
going to
book.
open it, and you'll notice that the runes have been burnt out in the pages.
And they're now much more noticeable. Yeah, the magical runes in the book.
So I found out what these are. Turns out, a little bit of a necromancy spell, likely what summon the ghosts and stuff. And then I bring up my notes and all the things from the various people that I hired to figure out the spell, and I hand them all over to him.
I'm going to look at them and read them in great detail. Unless you stop me from reading them in great detail, I will sit
no.
there
So
and I will
this is for
read
you.
them.
The additional detail is that it is a necromancy binding spell. It usually when people write down spells, there is a margin of error. There is no margin of error. This was done the first time correctly, and I think that was it. I think that was the main thing.
Thanks, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a necromantic binding spell.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's what Aelady used to summon the thing that then did the stabbing. I'm glad I gave it back to her, actually. That could have been bad. Yeah.
Yes, that could have been bad. That's incredible detail. She did that perfectly. It's they're
Question is if she did it or if they were already in there and she was just trying to activate the spell.
well, it's either done by a very practiced hand or by a very intelligent person. So
Seems like.
now, is there any way to learn the spell based off of this information?
It's not the kind of spell you could just add to your spell book, but
No.
you could try to research it further.
Cool.
Say, for example, If you researched it further, you would probably be able to find out who wrote it if you ever came across it again. Just a little bit like, you know, that could be something you do in your own time. There's not really any sort of checks and things. So you already know what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason for you to not keep studying it.
See, now, if I use this, specifically focusing on the runes, is there any way for me to get more detail out of it, specifically to do with who put the runes in?
Give me a wisdom check.
Okay. That is pretty good.
This takes you a little bit of time. Lawkeeping is usually just a couple of seconds. You put your hand on a book, your eyes flash, and then all in. This actually takes a bit of effort, because the spell almost appeared to have been written in such a way to avoid that. I mean, it was written over multiple pages of the book, so that it only worked when the book was closed and sealed together, right? That's how it worked. So not only do you have to pass it all together, it seems like it was actively tried to be written without any sort of tells. But when you put it together, you do find out a name. The name of Caldicus.
Interesting. Okay. And I will say that it wasn't Aelody who wrote this. It was Caldicus.
Oh?
Caldicus Elrexan.
Well, that makes her even more interesting than I thought. And I spent quite a bit of time speaking with her, writing the story of her and Aelody. She never once mentioned necromancy.
She never once mentioned magic.
Interesting.
Great tea, though.
Yeah, excellent tea. Little bit of magic in that, if you don't mind me saying.
That was a
And a hint of
private
honey.
library, right?
Pardon, sorry?
That was a private library, right?
No, it wasn't.
No, as in specifically privately owned, not part of the city. I think, if I remember
Hard
right,
to tell with elves.
No, I remember because we weren't allowed to. We didn't get free travel because it wasn't a city matter.
That's
because
true.
it was a private matter.
That's true.
That is true, but it was a private matter, not a city matter.
Oh, okay.
But when
I
it
think
comes
at
to
some
those sort
stage-
of things where it's like in a city of elves and it's that old, like who can tell?
Yeah.
I'd a guess anyway.
We may need to make a visit back there sometime because maybe there's more stuff in that library.
Quite possibly.
Other thing. Can you teach me Giant?
And in Giant, I'll say, of course. We need a book.
Is
We
that a
need a
yes
book.
or a no?
Oh, sorry. Yes, but we need a book. We need something to, like a teaching aid to do so.
Okay. Where do I find it?
We could probably find one in town here. People speak Giant here, but they're not really the most book-learned people. No offense, Tobias.
Who is currently doing whatever and muted.
I was muted. I was muted.
Oh,
No
yeah.
offense taken.
Good.
How
Good.
much is the book? Oh,
I'm looking. Give me a moment. Jeez Louise.
The other thing, would I be able to send a letter to Caldicus from Slate Cove?
Yeah. No, yeah, because you would send it, you would give it to the Elven Temple, where they would have people who
Perfect.
could send it back and forth.
Perfect. I will put together something for you in like actual like what I would have written.
Okay. Yes, no,
But-
exactly, yeah. So basically you spend some time after that discovery
Yeah.
finding it out.
Yeah.
The book is going to be... It's not just one book. The whole bunch of training things you need for the level of learning that you need, Virik, even with Barut helping, is 225 gold.
How much of that do you have?
I have enough.
I will I will let you buy it because I'm going to be buying new armor soon, but I will cover 25 gold of it if you'd like. It's a little bit of a teacher's discount there for you.
Okay, so that's 200 for mine.
Yeah.
It was
And
200
then I
yeah, good.
225 minus the 25. So
Yeah, sure.
my brain just stopped doing math.
Now Varric has a pile of books in his bag.
Yes,
I
now
can
Varric
hold
has a
on.
book bag. Yay!
I can hold on to them
Yeah.
if you want. I've got a book.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
actually
up to
kind of
you.
like the idea that he has a little book bag now.
No,
like
okay,
I
cool.
was, I mentioned before the stream, that isn't even really like properly books. They're like old manuscripts of like translation from common to giant. Like, it's gonna take some work.
So I'm gonna
Yep.
turn to Tobias and start speaking in Giant and say, from now on, we need to be speaking mostly in Giant so that he gets used to the dialect.
Sure. And in like an extremely heavily accented turn of voice, you'll hear him be like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Kind of like you can say in giant. We'll learn you good, friend.
And I will handle the teaching, so don't worry about that. But I just need you to make sure that you're interacting with him in Giant as well, just so
Oh,
that
yeah.
he gets used to it.
Experience is the best teacher for sure.
Absolutely.
You can see him like trying to line up words you're saying.
And and I'll say in probably Elvish, because that's my most natural flow back from another language. You know, when you're like speaking in one language, and then you have to go back to your native language for a minute before you can go into another
No,
language.
I don't. I'm not a knowledge cleric.
Well, you do, because that's how you translate things, is there's the intermediary of your common language. So my common language being Elvish, I would have jumped back to Elvish and I would have said, oh, don't worry, we're just discussing that we'll be mostly speaking with you in Giant. Obviously, when we need to get a real point across, we'll speak not in Giant, but we're going to try and acclimatize you to the language.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You will do absolutely wonderfully.
We'll see.
All right, is there
And
any...
in Giant, I'm going to turn to Tobias. This might take a while.
What else do you want to do in town before you leave?
I'm good.
I've pretty much took care of my business at the end of the last session, so I'm good.
I'd go to Kinley and ask about that necromantic binding spell, see if she knows anything about it. If there's anywhere I could learn it, nothing.
Oh, if she says this to you, it's like, if you are interested in learning necromancy, which is exceedingly distasteful and illegal on most of the globe.
It's more that I want to learn the structures of it so I can identify it better when I see it.
You are heading to the right place. Bastilian is one of the few places where necromancy is freely taught. And I say freely, there is still a grave price, but in coin, not in life force.
Of course. And now, I'm not obviously from around here, so I don't necessarily know why the stigma around it. But in terms of necromancy, why is it considered so distasteful? I mean, there are some
Strangely
necromantic
enough,
spells that...
people like their loved ones to remain where they were placed, to remain buried, to have their souls remain in the afterlife where they belong. Necromancy goes against the natural nature of the world via its very essence.
Interesting. The only reason why I ask is because a lot of necromancy is actually, from my understanding of it, at least from the teachings of the theory of necromancy from where I'm from, a lot of it is meant to reconnect with loved ones, meant to be speaking with them from beyond and allowing you to gain closure, because a death is as painful for those who left as for those who remain. Just culturally speaking. So I find it very interesting to see the great divide there. But
Very interesting indeed.
well, thank you very much for the information. And I'll bow and then leave, and no cheeky wink this time. He knows that that's not a door that can be opened at the moment.
Hey, I just want to raise some zombies. Can I raise some zombies? Yeah, go ahead and raise some zombies. I'm gonna let her raise some zombies. No,
well, you know.
brute down.
Good save, though. Good save.
He may not be a smart man, but he's a wise man. He knows when to back off of a conversation.
And are you good to head out?
Hoot and a boot.
Alrighty.
In a boot.
So with that, the three of you, the boys, you pack up to head out of Slate Cove. You've done this before. You're actually pretty much going on the same route from when you went to Jotunskogr before. Aside from this time, you are going to be going around the forest instead of into it. On your route. I mean, you have the map. If you end up changing your mind, you can.
I saw his face.
Maybe we want to go say hi to Giant Grandma.
Maybe we do.
I mean, there's always food.
There is always food.
I feel like regardless of like what the actual map says, that's where I'm just gonna take us anyway. And if it's I'll be like, it's faster, trust me.
I would 100% believe you because I'm reading.
We would entirely believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, Barry's the
100%.
only one who needs to be fooled because he's not as wise. The route that you're taking is an existing one. This area is not the ice sheets that you were told to worry about. It is mostly snow and rock and some little... It's tundra. There are some areas of tree cover, some small forests, a giant forest, you know, about a week away that you're like, oh, well, let's just take a little bit of a detour. But there are paths. This isn't the kind of area where there are paved roads. Who would maintain that? No. But there are paths that are traveled enough via wagons or and beasts of burden that roads are carved out. And a couple of days after traveling, after you know, Slate Cove is, and the sea is far in the horizon, you do find something on the side of the road, and it's Tobias who sees it first, and actually who smells first. At first you think Barut might just be having a snack because you smell strong cured fish. But it's a more unpleasant smell of rot mixed in with that and a bit of burning. And you follow that smell a little bit off the side of the road. The kind of place where if you were pulling a wagon, you would pull your wagon off the side of the path to rest. Too flat an area to really get good cover from elements or even people traveling on the road. But, you know, clearly this guy didn't really seem to care. You see a wagon with a smashed wheel, tipped. Clearly the wagon was carrying the cured fish and things that... Slate Cove is a fishing village, or town. That's what they do. So clearly it's sending that down this road, because there are villages and town. You're heading towards a town. And they're all, like, pulled down into the... onto the ground. And because it's summer, it's actually the heat of summer right now, the terrain you're going through is not just snow and rock. There are areas of grass and wildflowers for the month or two that there actually is no snow on the ground. So the fish have turned and there's flies, and you even go over and there's like a raccoon like trying to pull on them. And a dead body.
Okay.
Just have a nice walk to Bastillion. Out to town, then to... You know what I mean.
Yes. I reply in giant.
Oh yeah, this is in giant, by the way.
Yes.
Everything from now on is in giant unless otherwise specified.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, welcome to me in Quebec City trying to speak French. But yeah, I will kind of just cautiously approach, investigate. Is it possible to roll a survival check to see if there was like animals that came through here besides scavengers?
Yeah, no, you can absolutely do a survival check. Just kind of on the scene.
Like
yeah.
Arrowheads or something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look.
What are you thinking, Tesh?
Pardon?
are
I
you
was thinking,
thinking?
can I look for signs that this is a trap, that this is a bandit ambush?
That's an
Saying
investigation.
that that's the sort of thing that I would be looking for.
Yes.
Hey, not bad.
So Varric, you actually like stop Tobias and look around the scene. I mean, it's bright, but you have your sunglasses, so you aren't in a lot of pain or anything. You don't see any sign of a trap, but you can very much tell that this was an attack from a person.
Yeah.
Actually, a group of people, it seemed like. And what you two put together is that this wasn't a wild animal attack, although it totally could have been. You know, that would have been within the realm of possibility. Here's a whole cart of food. Not a whole lot of food, but it is summer. It's the easiest time for animals to get food, so it'd have to be a very lazy animal or anything. Because animals usually don't attack humans unless they have a reason to do so. It must be very desperate. I mean, not lazy. But it seemed to be from a person. The human, who seems to be from Slate Cove, or at least the area, right? Seemed to have been killed with a maul to the chest, a very powerful. And he was a colony. He didn't really stand a chance. And you can tell, you know, that person didn't steal from the wagon either. It just seemed like a little bit of a senseless murder.
I want to check to see if he's still got gold and stuff on him. To like see if they took that.
Yeah, when you like pack
really
the
was
pockets.
just a murder.
Yeah, he has about 2 gold on him.
Okay,
Pockets.
that's even more worrying. They didn't actually steal anything. Just gonna add that 2 gold.
Oh no, that's so worrying.
Oh gosh.
I mean, he's not using it.
Or better yet, I guess this is something I would ask Baruit to do because he's the medicine man. If we can see roughly how long he's been dead.
Yeah,
for.
it's a medicine check. Yeah.
And I will take a look.
Not that long. It's summer here, so actually, usually it would be, well, it's so cold it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But no, the bodies actually act fairly normally in the temperature right now, so not that long. A couple of days, not enough for like full rigor mortis or rot to really start taking in. He's been nibbled,
Yeah.
but he's not fully like black bile yet.
Okay.
Weird.
How do your people like to be buried? Or
They usually don't.
burned?
But if I mean, I guess that's more of a question for Ollie.
What would you say?
I would say typically burned, like Viking funeral style.
Especially you guys being sailors, Viking funeral would be most appropriate.
That would be my. But I mean, yeah, typically they prefer not to be buried.
Obviously. As everyone
Your
does.
culture is actually aware of undeath because you have a whole curse of undeath thing in your religion. So yeah, taking care of the bodies is pretty important.
All right, well, let's chop up the cart. It's a wooden cart, right? Make a fire.
That doesn't require any rolls or anything to chop up the cart.
It just takes time, right?
Yeah, it just takes. Pretty much, you're going to spend the rest of the day doing that. If there's anything any of you want to do while you're setting up this little funeral pyre, let me know.
Can I look for tracks leading away from
Please
this?
give me a survival check.
Ooh, this is gonna be another -1, and it's a 4.
We literally could have had either other person do this with a positive.
Literally, so you start chopping this all up. Viric's like, don't worry, I'll look see if I can find him, and it's just sort of.
I'm weak. I don't chop things up. So.
Exactly. So you just see him while you're chopping up the cart, just kind of like looking around, like picking up a rock, looking under it, like. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Leave no stone unturned, Fury.
We're a little out of his comfort area for where he normally hunts bandits.
In
like,
Giant,
I don't know what to do about this.
Say to Tobias, yeah, we should probably, after we're done building this pyre, actually figure out what's going on.
Sure.
Do any of you want to do the same check when you're done with the pyre?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let the ranger do this one.
Sure. Are you helping me?
I mean, am I allowed to?
If you want.
I would like to.
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
like to help. Yeah. I would like to help.
Great.
Yep.
Would you do this before or after you burn the guy?
Probably before we actually burn him.
Mm-hmm. Like you have it all set up and you start looking for tracks. And you do find tracks. They are a little hard to find because it seems that the attackers were also on a cart or some sort of wheeled vehicle being pulled by one animal. Probably a horse, as it looks. But they got off it. Someone got off it to do this attack. And then got back on the cart. And cart tracks are very easy to follow in this kind of terrain. You can easily follow it. And it seems to be going more or less the way you were going. Kind of. Off a different sort of path.
Wow.
This is weird. It seems like they just took a stop, killed this guy, and then just went on their way. So the question is why? Did they know him? And they were just like, hey, there's so-and-so, let's kill him. Or was there another reason?
Personal or random? If it was random, we're almost certainly never going to catch the guy. If it was personal, well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know why I'm suggesting that we go and try and catch this guy. We have a job to do, but it is something to note. We may wish to report authorities.
I'm concerned that these
to get to the town anyway.
Yeah, and these people are going the same direction as us. I'm more so worried that we're going to run into them. And if these people are out here just murdering folks,
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we'd have to take care of them.
maybe. Actually, and Ollie, here's a question for you. Would I be able to recognize if this guy had a particular membership to certain families or anything based on the tattoo?
Based
that
on the
would be on
tattoos,
him?
he seemed to just be pretty much the most generic Slate Cove person you can imagine. You know, sailor, a little too old to be
Sailor.
sailing and now, so he's doing this little trade thing. He didn't even have like a pack animal. He was just pulling this cart along. You know,
Wow.
That just makes it so much more tragic.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
He aside from if you knew the guy in particular, you know, you can't think of like a family feud or anything. And okay,
Yeah.
Slate Coat, you're Northmen. You have clan blood. That means there's occasionally feuds between families and things, but never to this much of an
I mean,
extent.
that's all usually just resolves itself down at the tavern. So
Exactly.
to this
Punch each other
degree,
up a bit, drink, make merry.
everyone goes home. Yeah. Yeah, this is bizarre.
the funny thing is, this would sit better with Virik if they'd actually robbed him or like taken things, but like the fact that they just randomly killed him.
Well, that's what's weird. All right. Well, I guess we should burn him and just keep a vigilant eye when we rest.
Very much so.
Are there any words that are commonplace for your peoples? Words of peace in passing.
Words are typically shared by family, people who knew him. I don't imagine either of you two.
We don't have family around. You're the closest thing.
Did he have anything on him that would give us a name?
No.
Or like,
No, Slate
Any-
Coat, like,
There's no
these are not the
identification.
people who
No.
keep anything with names on it.
He didn't have his driver's license?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
he was
driving
going
his
on a
car.
cart without a license.
No wonder someone
He was
killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually
Danger to the road.
Yeah.
it's the only
very cool
part
note
about
the
my
date.
dad. Like,
Very cool note the date that it is, because
Do you
he
wanna
will
know
want
the
to
date?
check who left that date.
I'm actually going to also, now that you've noted date, I'm actually going to take 2 pieces of
It is, it
well,
is actually
3.
the first of Saffron today.
First of Saffron. Okay. And I am going to start carving into the wood the date as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that is literally just to be a marker for where he.
Yeah, exactly.
And I imagine we're leaving the pyre when we
Yeah, you
go.
burn it and then leave.
I
Yeah.
imagine, yeah.
You set it because you've all got, you know, tinder boxes.
Yep.
Rest for the night because you spent the whole day doing that. Unless you want to leave in the night and try and follow these guys. That's up to you.
I mean, we have someone who's extremely vigilant in the nighttime. We have someone who can track, and we have someone who's a nerd who will be in a terrible state if we do. So it's up to you guys.
You only need 4 hours, you're fine.
It's true. I mean, we could, if Tobias would be okay leaving early, but I imagine he wants to sleep. Pesky human things, am I right, Virik? Nudge, nudge. I'm saying it in giant, though, so you wouldn't have understood it yet.
There's a lot of like conversations going over his head because you've been traveling for 3 days. He needs to learn for 9 weeks.
Yeah. Very, like he might catch the occasional word where he's like
Yep.
literally looking at the book going,
Also,
Okay.
like, while this is
Okay.
happening, Device is definitely going to take the time to be like, okay, Virik, like, next time you see someone, call them this. It'll be hilarious. Like,
oh
teaching
no.
him, like, all the bad words.
And there's a lot of insults in Giant. There's a lot of because you guys
the
know.
most commonly used words.
Yeah,
in
you know
Slate.
Borvar Giant, like who
Yeah.
basically shit talk for a living. So it's kind of their thing.
No.
So do you want to leave tonight or rest up?
Up to you guys. Very happy either way.
And Baru is happy either way as well.
We could rest early, rest early and leave once you're done with your thing and it's still dark. You'll sleep.
6 hours. It'll be starting to get light probably at that point. But
We could leave it
Oh,
dawn.
okay.
yeah, we could leave it dawn. I think that's probably the most reasonable thing if Virik and I kind of do the 2 hour alternate. So we're going to have a 2 hour period where everybody's down.
All right.
Yep.
You rest
So I guess
up.
we just light a fire, go rest up. I
Exactly.
set alarms everywhere.
Yeah, of course. And you aren't accosted during the night.
Cool.
When you get ready to leave at dawn, why don't you give me perception checks?
Oh no.
Thank
Tobias,
God for
you-
Tobias.
Can smell the faint smell of smoke on the air, but it's not the pyre behind you and the remains of it. It's coming from sort of southeasterly off that, the way the tracks went.
Bullshit.
I will kind of just stop and like look up, sniff the air a little bit, and then just kind of look at them like, do you smell?
This? Yes. Pointing to the pyre.
No. The wind's blowing the opposite direction. That burning smells coming from this way, and I like kind of
Oh,
point in
Oh,
that direction.
we should.
that's the way
slept.
that. Well, I mean, we need to rest. We're no use to anybody, and
This is the morning.
this is
This
the
is the
morning.
morning.
Yeah. That's my point. We needed the rest. We would be no use to
Yeah.
anybody tired. So, it can't stop the world from being a violent, horrible place, unfortunately. So let's get going now and
It's
see what we can
literally
do.
your job.
Yeah. Well,
Just wanted to point that out.
Violent and horrible mess.
and
Your
Berwin is still not
subconscious.
sure about whether or not this job is for him. So,
Technically, your job is not the affairs of mortals. You know, if
You're not wrong,
if it's
yeah,
humans
it's
killing
really
humans, it's technically not your job. But
It
it's
is
a
my
kind of
fake
like
job.
it's a kind of a Batman-y thing. It's like, oh no, this counts as a monster. They're a bad person.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're monstrosities to the human.
So you're saying they're monstrosities?
So you're gonna follow the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And pretty much immediately, I think. I think we're.
You get ready as far you skip breakfast. Terrible idea, but you do it.
Well, I'm gonna munch on some of that.
Exactly.
salmon on
You've
the
got
way.
rations.
I'm gonna
to
kind
go
of
with.
We got
also
rations.
like call Bjorn close to make sure he doesn't.
I was
run
gonna
ahead or
say I
anything.
totally forgot.
There's a dog.
Yours
with us.
loving this. He's
Yeah.
he likes being on the road much more than being in the towns. He's a
I guess
good
this is
great-
probably the first time he's actually been out just in the wilderness. So
Yeah, exactly. So he's just has a great time. Your dog is very happy and is snuffling away at the tracks as you head off.
Because aside from right now, I'm just like, just go, just do whatever.
Exactly.
Stay within like half a mile.
And you actually end up traveling for a good while. Do you sort of travel at a much faster pace than normal? Because you can. When traveling,
Yeah.
there's the 3 speeds, isn't it?
I guess we're not really
medium,
worried
and
about being
fast.
ambushed.
No.
So
Yeah.
there's no reason to not be going fast right now.
The downside is if you continuously do it, but really,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
But for the first
and that's
one-
that's actually unrelated to forced march, which is a whole different thing. But traveling fast, you follow this. It kind of just getting dark when you find the source of the smell. It seems to be a small little village. And like I said, there are little villages out here. Sometimes a clan is just a couple of families or less than that. It looks like more or less one fairly big house and a couple of side houses. And it's not even burnt down a lot. Small parts of it are on fire right now. Because it's the smell carried so far because mostly flat. And it's not snowed or rained anything, so the little bits that are burning are still burning. You can kind of, as you peek in, you see the continuation of the burning where it sort of traveled through this house. Why don't you guys give me investigation checks?
Wow.
Embarrassing.
Wow.
Mediocre.
Wow.
Okay. So when you're going through,
Respect.
it's hard to tell how this fire started. You assume it's the people on the cart, right?
Yeah.
There are 4 bodies. Now, they look like the bodies of children. Some of them are badly burned. Some of them aren't. At least one of them looks like they were running away, a good way away from the house before they got caught. Hard to tell cause of deaths. And yeah, looking around, that's what you see. You don't even see a continuation of the tracks.
If we don't see continuation of the tracks, that means they could still be here. Means they could be going a different way, using a different transportation method. Could be covering their tracks. For all we know, they probably saw the pyre that we lit. Do we know what's around this village? Like, in terms of, like, I mean, specifically, this would be directed towards Tobias. Are there other villages in this area? This seems like they're going to where people are, specifically to kill.
I suppose this would be a survival or a history check for Tobias.
Survival's gonna be better.
Yeah.
So let's go with that.
You haven't
What are
really
the-
gone out this far, this way. You don't know. I mean, you know Lendir, but that's a good deal away. That's like a week of travel still. You know there are other villages around here. Just looking around, the terrain actually does get a bit more hilly. The further you go towards Lendir, much more higher ground, and valleys and things.
Yeah, I mean, I will convey basically that information and just say, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of, I haven't seen personally, but I'm sure there are plenty of small villages or small, basically
How many
homes.
bodies?
Like, this looks like it was just someone's house or someone's home, like frontiersmen.
It is literally like a frontier house. Like, it's got a little garden. It's actually got quite a nice little garden. It's got a little stream, like a little waterway. Like, it's a very quaint little place. It's half burnt down and everyone's dead.
Are the bodies burned?
About half and half. If you wanted to do a separate medicine check to try and figure out, causes and death and stuff, then feel free.
That's the intention.
So the first thing you figure out is that these aren't children. These are halflings.
Halflings.
Which makes you feel a little better.
Yeah.
Well,
But halflings are also innocent and don't hurt anyone.
makes Barut feel a lot better.
Better for one reason, worse for another reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who are the ones that are burnt were dead before the fire started. When you're looking around, you don't know how the fire started, but they were definitely dead before the fire started. It leads you to believe that maybe the people who attacked them didn't start the fire. Sometimes when things just aren't left to their own devices, things set
A
on
candle
fire
or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were killed either with a maul or with a hammer. One of them seems to have had their head carved in with a pick of some kind.
Is there any indication as to angle of attack?
Very, very high up. The people attacking the halflings, I mean, most people are taller than halflings.
Yeah.
But even then, and especially considering the other body you saw, now it really clicks that the people who attacked them must have been pretty fucking tall. Like 7.
Goliath height.
Or
Goliath height.
Yeah.
Or on horseback, possibly as
Or
well.
on
Or on
horseback.
horseback.
Possibly. Yeah, but we didn't see horse tracks.
You
We
saw
saw a
horse tracks
single
pulling a
horse.
cart. Yeah.
We saw a single horse track. So it's possible that they stood in the cart and did this, but
We were warned about roaming bands of Goliath.
we were. That explains this, at least a little bit. Kind of hoping it was dwarves. They're at least able to be reasoned with half the time. So, roving bands of Goliaths. I suppose we'll just run into them then. If they're going where people are.
Here's what I propose, since this tactic has served us well in the past.
Oh
is
no.
we leave behind an extremely obvious trail. We don't do any of the things we normally do We
To
break
protect ourselves.
We
What?
break branches. We leave obvious tracks. And
So
then
my
we
normal
set up-
business without you guys stopping me from doing what I normally do. So you're going to let me walk normally this time.
Exactly.
Yes.
See, Barud is a
That I can
mountain
do.
elf. On flat ground, he's very stompy. On
Yeah.
mountainous ground, he's like a goat.
Yeah, totally fine. This is weird terrain for me. I'm still not used to it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I like this plan. This plan is good. So, since it's getting to nighttime anyway, make a very obvious tracks away from the thing, and then set up camp.
How far away do you want to go? Do you want to try and do you want to try and make it to any sort of? I mean, there's hilly land and sort of craggy ravines. If you wanted to head off that far to the east,
The
or you could
east.
stay more in the sort of flatlands.
What land is
Something
going
else.
to benefit us the most?
I would like to do before we leave is I'm going to look to Virik and I'm going to be like, here, I'm going to teach you a word in giant right now. And I'm just
Right.
going to like etch the word for cowards work
On like the
into like,
building,
yeah.
which is a very insulting word to Goliath, especially.
To a Goliath, absolutely.
They don't come back to
That's
check
the
their
lesson.
work ever, do they?
Well, they might not come back specifically to check the work, but if they're in this area, they probably killed these people because they were settling on what they view as their land. So it's possible they will be in this area and they
They're
might see
hiding their tracks now. They might think that we're following them. They might come back for us.
Sure they are. They're definitely hiding their tracks, and not you're just blind.
But here's we are.
You don't
convinced
know,
that
of
they're
course,
hiding their
but
tracks.
that's the
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
that they
the
can
DM
pass.
going.
Guys are idiots.
Yeah. We think we're great adventurers.
It's like we come back and
You
say,
have a success rate.
We do.
The best-
Surprising.
the best part is if we go back to the house and see tracks in the morning because we get better rolls, we're gonna like they came back and
Awesome. All right. So you do you want to go towards the hills, the ravines, or the flat? So everywhere sort of flatland, but you could try and
We
find...
could also stay here.
You could also stay here. You know, really, where
There's
do you
cover.
want to set up your little camp? Because if you stay here and you set like a fire in the center of this little plot of land, it would be a beacon, and it would be very obvious that you were still here. So it'd be very attention seeking if you want to do that.
in that case, I could see them
I
coming.
feel
Hopefully,
like that might be one of our best options because there are places here we can hide, and I feel like if we don't do that, we definitely want to go to the flatlands because knowing what I know about Goliath, anywhere there's mountainous terrain is kind of their fault.
As much as I love the mountains, I don't like people who are taller than me on mountains.
I'm gonna.
They have a
actually
height
say-
advantage even when we're at the same level, and I don't like that.
I'm gonna say to Virik, actually, and this is kind of morbid, so if you don't want to do this, I understand. But would it be possible for you to take either our winter clothes or some of our extra gear and kind of use your disguise kit to try to make it look like a few figures sitting around a fire?
And then hide somewhere else.
And then we hide somewhere else, and when they come in to attack us, we ambush them.
I hate how much I love this idea.
The fact is, that's the sort of thing Virik would probably be okay with doing. Like,
Yeah.
Let these people's deaths not be in vain.
pretty much. And like, he's all like, these people were killed by someone. They were innocents killed in an unfair fight. He's like, yep, let's turn this
Let
around.
them have their revenge.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Virik would totally be up for that. Can I do that?
Yeah, I won't even give you any sort of check. So do you want to like where? What do you want to say, Will? What is it?
I'm gonna take some time and do a little bit of a
Time?
ritual here,
Mm.
and ritual cast some gentle repose on at least one of them.
You
I'm
know,
gonna
one of the
try
better
to-
quality corpses. Yeah.
Exactly, just so that Virik has a better canvas to work on, so he doesn't have to do as much work with the
Don't
disguise.
call a corpse a canvas. This is why Kendley was offended. This is the problem.
When you start using words like that, it's only reasonable for people to be concerned when you're asking
Yeah,
questions
that's
about
concerning.
necromancy.
I literally read a book on how to carve people.
Yeah,
I forgot that. That did happen, didn't it?
Bruin just knows this morbid shit. It's fine.
Virik had to witness this firsthand as he carved up zombies in front of him.
Farouk
That's
is a
true.
fucking like 4chan kid. Don't tell me otherwise.
I love it. Okay, yep, that's a thing now.
Yeah, I just know how to, you know, this is what human would taste like if we were to eat it. Yeah, I know how to make a bomb. Yeah, it's easy. You just fucking,
You
like,
just need frozen orange juice and stuff you can buy at the gas station.
Oh gosh, there's an old photo of a prof who had a bunch of folders out so that when the students looked at his thing when he opened up his presentations, they would see these folders of just ridiculous things, and one of them is curry recipes that double up as explosives.
That's great.
Yeah.
all right. So
Oh.
we're
Yes.
actually going to take our first break with that, and we'll be back after like a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere, but you can, because I can't stop you because it's a free country. You're clear.
Okay.